Welcome, I'm Trish Connor Cato. This is the SharePoint 2019 Site Owner video course. This course is for site owners and/or managers new to working within a SharePoint environment. Introductory level experience with SharePoint is recommended. By the end of this course, you will learn how to do the following: create and navigate a team site, create and edit web page content. In Module 1, we'll be working with sites. Specifically, we will work with site templates to create sites and learn how to navigate the site and manage site navigation. We will be working on creating team sites, project sites, and community sites. Module 2 will see us focusing on page content. This module includes the creation of Wiki library pages, editing a team site homepage, and using web parts to display content. If you're enjoying these videos, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions you want answered by one of our instructors, please join our off-site community. The link is in the description as well. As always, if this course has exercise files, you'll find them in the video description below. Before we get into SharePoint itself, we're going to do a little background information via the slide deck. This won't take long. We'll be hands-on really quickly. So since SharePoint is based on site architecture, I figured I'd put a little map up here just so you see what we're talking about. So you can have a site collection, and from those site collections, you can make your subsites, and that's what we're going to be doing. So in our case, let's say we're sales, because most of the data we're going to be working with is sales related in some way during this course. We would have our sales site collection, and then we would have our sales site. And from our sales site, we can make subsites that contain document libraries, lists, all of these kinds of things. That's what we're going to be doing during this course, particularly in Module 1. Just wanted you to have a little background understanding of the site architecture. So the first module is working with sites. All SharePoint contact is accessed through a site. So the site is a container for the list and libraries and other apps that you're adding to your site, and it's a starting point also for basic administration. The lessons in this module, we're going to be working with site templates, creating a team site, a project site. We're also going to create a community site. We're going to learn about site navigation and how to manage it. In the video description, you have the files that we're going to be using in this module. There are 2 Excel files, goals and employee salaries, and there's a Word document called Sales by Month. We'll be using the 3 of those in this particular module. If you want to go ahead and grab those files from the video description and put them in a folder on your desktop, that would be great. You've heard me say that sites can contain lists and libraries. Well, these 2 terms are typically used interchangeably. They are distinctive in SharePoint, though. So a list is used to store information, formatted in rows and columns. You can add attachments to list settings. They can be created from scratch. They can be based on an Excel file, based on an existing list, or by using a list template. A library is used to store documents and files. So lists store information, libraries store documents and files. So you can have a document library, you can have an asset library, which is used to store rich media files like images and videos. And again, list and library, you'll hear the terms used interchangeably, but in SharePoint, they store different things. There are basically 3 types of sites in SharePoint: team, project, and community. We'll be creating examples of all 3 during this course. So a team site is a place to work together with a group of people. A project site is more geared toward managing and collaborating on a specific project. It brings all the status, communication, and artifacts relevant to the project into one place. And then a community site is more of a forum experience in SharePoint. You can categorize and cultivate discussions among a broad group of people across organizations in a company by using a community site. Now, when it comes to team sites, when you're creating the team site, there are two different types that you can create, a modern type and a classic type. So the difference between the two really is modern, you can work with Office 365 groups. When you create a modern site, the home page already has sections for news, quick links, site activity, and a document library. You can use built-in or customized themes for branding with a modern site. The classic site does not work with Office 365 groups. Originally, you could only use SharePoint groups. So the classic site still has access to SharePoint groups, but not Office 365 groups. The home page in a classic site has web parts for announcements, calendar, and links. They used to use site themes, alternate CSS, and master pages for branding in the classic site. We'll be working with the modern team site when we get in and get started. At this point, hopefully you'll have the two Excel files from the video description and the Word file that I referenced before, and you're in SharePoint and on a site from which you can create a subsite. So now I'm on what I'm going to call my parent site in SharePoint, my Trish training site, and we're going to create our subsite, our team site based off of this site. So before we do that though, we need to activate a couple of features. So in the upper right hand corner, I'm going to have you click on the settings gear. And when you click on the settings gear, you're going to click on site information. Now, you'll see down here, there's a link where it says view all site settings. That's where we're going to go. On the left side of site settings, we're going to look under site collection administration, and we're going to go to site collection features. We need to enable a couple of features or activate a couple of features to make this course flow well. Sometimes the features could be activated already, otherwise you're going to have to go in and activate them. So these are in alphabetical order. The first feature we want to activate, we're going to scroll down until we see SharePoint, and we want the SharePoint server standard site collection features to be activated. So you're going to click on the activate button to the right of it, and it'll take a moment, but it will activate it for you. And then you'll see if you scroll back down to that setting, SharePoint server standard site collection features, you'll see that the active button is now orange. We have one more that we need to activate. We're going to continue to scroll down until we see video and rich media, and we're going to activate that feature as well. And once that feature is active, I'm still in the habit of going down and making sure that the button is orange and it says active. We can scroll back up to the top. And you have, I call these breadcrumbs. If I wanted to go back to site settings, I could use the breadcrumb here, or I'm going to use the quick launch and just go back to my home page for right now. Now, once that's done, we're ready to create our subsite. So we can go to site contents on the quick launch bar. That's where I normally do this. And you'll see it has contents and it has subsites. We're going to click the new drop down and select subsite. Now we're going to give our site a name by giving it a title, and we'll call this SharePoint video course as its title. And the description is not required, but we'll just put in a description. We'll say used during Learnit video course. The website address, it gives you the URL, most of the URL. So my URL ends with my Trish training site. This is a subsite of that site. I have some privacy blocks here so you're not able to see my domain. And we're going to click in the box to the right, and we're just going to call it SharePoint course, all one word. So that will be the actual URL to the site that we're creating. We're going to leave the language as English. You can do the drop down there if you like and see all of the different languages available. You know, Microsoft products are used all over the world. And we're going to leave the template for team site. So it's on the collaboration tab, right? That's where you find your team sites, your project site, your community sites. And we're going to create instances of those throughout this course. But really, I think, in my opinion, they have Team Site No Microsoft 365 Group and Team Site Classic Experience. I think it should just be Team Site Modern, Team Site Classic. We're going to leave it on the modern one, which currently says No Microsoft 365 Group. Again, those are on the collaboration tab. You have two other tabs there. We're not going to address those during the course, but go ahead and click on Enterprise, and you'll see if you wanted to create a document center or a record center, a basic search center, you would use the Enterprise tab. And Duet Enterprise just gives you the SAP workflow site. We'll go back to collaboration, and we'll make sure it's on Team Site No Microsoft 365 Group. And you're going to continue to scroll down to see the rest of the new subsite settings. So now we're at the permissions area, and we're going to use the same permissions as the parent site. In other words, we're inheriting permissions from, in my case, Trish Training is my parent site. Later on in this course, I believe when we get to like module 4, we'll be going over permissions, and then we can disinherit them and create unique permissions as necessary. But for right now, we'll leave it on use same permissions as parent site. In the navigation area, you can choose to display this site, your SharePoint course site, on the quick launch, the left navigation of the parent site. We'll toggle that to yes. We don't need to display the site on the top link bar of the parent site, so we'll toggle that one to no. And we don't want to inherit the top link bar from the parent site. So in my Trish Training site, if I had links to a bunch of other sites in the top link bar, I don't necessarily want those links to come down to this site. So we're going to leave that as a no. And at the bottom, you're going to go ahead and click Create. Your SharePoint video course site is created. It brings you to its home page, and you can go ahead and close Next Steps panel on the right if it opened on your screen. So as I said in the introduction, the home page, the modern home page, has sections for news, activity, quick links, and a built-in document library. So now you have your own subsite, your own SharePoint site, and this is what we're going to be using for parts of this course. When we get to Module 2, we'll modify our new team site homepage. But for right now, we're going to go ahead to the built-in document library that comes automatically with the team site. So I'm going to use my quick launch on the left to go to Documents. And it brings you into the empty document library. Well, we want to upload one of the files from the video description here. So we're going to upload the file called Goals. It's an Excel file. So right up at the top, I'm going to click on the Upload button, and I'm going to choose Files. It's already in the directory where I've saved the files for the video description. So the name of the file is Goals. It's an Excel file. So I'm going to just double click it. And it told me it was uploading one item. It lets me know that Goals is now available. If I wanted to, I could send out a notification. I'm going to just close that box. And you can see that it's sitting in the document library. So a couple of things about the document library that you should know. You can create documents right from in the library by clicking the New button. So you'll notice there's new buttons, lots of screens in SharePoint, and they're typically contextual to the screen you're on. So in here, I can create a new folder, Word document, OneNote notebook, all kinds of things from the new drop-down. If I wanted to create the thing directly in SharePoint, I can do that. We went over upload already. You can upload files, which we did, a folder or templates. You have the ability to edit in grid view, which we'll cover when we get to list, so on and so forth. You have a sync button there. You also have more actions where you can add a shortcut to OneDrive, you can export, you can automate. This ties in with Power Automate. You can integrate with Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power BI, 3 other Microsoft programs. You can get alerts on this library, and you'll learn about that a little bit later. An alert, so if somebody uploads something new, you can control when you receive the alerts and all of that. Right now, if we hover over the one document in our library, if we hover over the name of the document, we can open the document in Excel online that way. So why don't you go ahead and click on that link, goals.xlsx. And then you can see that it's a table in Excel that has the years, the yearly goals, and the monthly goals. We can get out of Excel Online and go back to our SharePoint. There are several actions you can take with documents in the document library. So if you hover over goals, to the right, you'll see a vertical ellipsis. If you hover over it, it says show actions. That show actions menu has a lot of different things on it. So you can open the document in the browser or in the app. So if you have Excel on your computer, you can open it one or two ways there. Again, when you click the link to the document, it will automatically open it in Excel in the browser, Excel Online. You can preview the document. You can share, copy a link, manage the access. Again, we'll be dealing with permissions in a later module. You can download the document to your computer. You can delete it. You have your Automate link there, so that links to Power Automate, where you can request a sign off on a document or create other rules. You can rename it, pin it to the top. So if you have 30 documents in this library, this particular document would always be at the top of the list. You can move or copy it to OneDrive or another SharePoint site from this list. You can get a history of the versions from here. You can set up alerts, and you have a more section where you can get properties. You can attach it to a workflow, look at compliance details, check out the document, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and then you have details. So all of your document management stuff is right from that Show Actions menu. In SharePoint, you're not limited to the default document library. You can have as many document libraries as necessary. We're going to create another document library, and the scenario here would be that this default documents library, basically everybody on our team will have access to once we do permissions later in this course. The new document library that we're going to create is only going to be for management on our team. So we're going to have some more sensitive documents in that library that only managers will be able to view. So I usually go to Site Contents to create anything new. I'm going to go to Site Contents on the quick launch. And at the top, you'll see your new button. Notice the things. These are all things that came with the template, the team template that we used. We haven't created any of this. So now we're going to go to the new button, which is contextual to this screen, and we're going to choose Document Library. And we're going to name our document library Management, and we'll put Sensitive Material as our description. We want it to show in the site navigation, so we'll be able to see it on a quick launch, and we won't have to go to site contents to find it whenever we need to access it. Go ahead and click Create. And now we're going to upload, same process we did before, upload files, and we want to grab that employee salaries Excel file to upload to this particular document library, management. I'm going to get rid of that, notify your team. So something else that you should become familiar with in SharePoint are library and list settings. We're in a document library, so if we go up to the settings gear in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see in this list of options we have library settings. If we were in a list, we would have list settings. We're going to click on library settings. Library settings are divided into groups. You have your general settings, permissions and management, communications, and then if you scroll down, you'll have columns and other stuff underneath, which we'll go over later on. But for right now, we want to look at some general settings. So let's say we named this document library, we named it management. If we wanted to change the name of it, we could go into list name, description, and navigation. Go ahead and click on that link. So you can see that you could change its name, its description, and whether or not it shows on the quick launch. Just a note about that. Even if it's on the quick launch, if someone doesn't have permissions to it, they won't be able to access it. So you'll learn more about permissions in a later module. We can go ahead and cancel out of this screen and go into versioning settings. So versioning settings give you some more control over your library. For example, content approval. Specify whether new items or changes to existing items should remain in a draft state until they have been approved. So if you turn that to yes, and someone uploads or creates a new item in the library or makes a change to existing items in the library, it would be in a draft state, meaning only the person that uploaded or made the change and the approvers would be able to see it in the library until it is approved. One thing, if you scroll down to the bottom of versioning settings, for this particular library, we want to require documents to be checked out before they can be edited. So once you do this, especially since it's sensitive material, only one person can have it checked out at a time. Other people can go and view the version that is up there, but otherwise they wouldn't be able to edit anything until whoever has it checked out will check it in, and then it's available to be checked out again by somebody else. So those are some settings you might want to get yourself familiar with if necessary for your organization. We can just go ahead and cancel out of versioning settings. If you no longer need a document library, you can, under permissions and management, you can delete it. We do not want to delete this document library, but it's pretty easy to get rid of things you no longer need for the site. And you can use your breadcrumb trail if you'd like, or your quick launch to get back into the management document library. I like using my breadcrumb trail. So I'm going to just click on management up there and it takes me back. Now, just another note on document libraries, especially when it comes to when you first create them and you're initially going to populate them with a lot of documents. If you're planning to require checking out of a document, don't do that setting until after you've uploaded all of the documents initially into your library. Otherwise, you would have to check all of those documents in. So just kind of make a note of that. Now we're going to shift our focus from document libraries to lists. We're going to end up creating 3 lists in our SharePoint site. We're going to start by creating a list from blank. Then we're going to create a list based off an Excel file. And then we're going to create a list from an existing list. So to get started, we're going to start creating a list from blank. So I'm going to go over to my quick launch and click on Site Contents again. I'm going to click the New button at the top. And now you can see, by the way, your management document library in the list of site contents. We're going to click the New button, and we are going to choose List. You'll see the three methods that we're going to use, starting with a blank list, from Excel, from an existing list. Plus, they have some list templates that you may or may not be interested in using. We're going to click on blank list to get started. We'll see that name is the only required field. It has the red asterisk next to it. And we're going to name this list 2021 and then Q1 for quarter one sales. 2021 Q1 sales is what we're going to name it. Description, we don't need to put a description in. We do want it to show in site navigation so we can get to it easily. And you're going to go ahead and click Create. When you create a list in SharePoint, it gives you one column and it names it Title. So we're going to address that now by changing the title column. We want it to be called Associate. So what we're going to do is do the drop down arrow next to title, hover over column settings, and choose rename, and we're going to call it Associate, and save. Now we need to add some columns. So we need to add columns for January, February, and March. And what we're going to do here is you can click right where it says Add Column. And the column that we want is going to be it's going to be number, because the contents of the column is going to be number. So for January, we're going to have January's number. So we chose the number data type there. So we're going to name this column Jan for January. We don't need a description. Because we chose number as the type, it gives us the number data type. We want it to be formatted as currency, so I'm going to do the $ underneath preview. And I'm going to change the decimal places from automatic to 2. We're not going to do a default value or use a calculated value or anything else here. We can just do save. So now you'll see that you have your January column. We want to create another column. So we want February. We'll do add column again. Then I'll have you guys, after this one, I'll have you do March on your own. So we want a number column. We're going to name it Feb for February, no description. We're going to give it the $ format and 2 decimal places, and save. And go ahead, just as a challenge, create the March column on your own. Name it Mar. So we have renamed the title column to Associate and created our January, February, and March columns to hold numbers that are formatted with the currency symbol and have 2 decimal places. So now it's time to populate this list. And we're using that sales by month Word document that was in the video description, or you can just take it from my screen as I'm doing the population on my screen. So the first thing we need to do is, to the right of your New button, easiest way to do this, where you can do more than one record at a time, is to edit in grid view. So I clicked edit in grid view, and now I can just use my tab key and go across and fill out the information. So it's already in the first associate box, and that person, we're just doing last names here, it's Johnson, and I'm doing my tab key to go over to January. And notice as soon as I tab, it gives me an add new item in the next row down. So for January, we're going to just put in 20,000. I'm not doing any punctuation. I'm just typing in the raw numbers, and I'm going to press tab. Now, right now, it's not showing the $ and the 2 decimal points because we're still in grid view editing this. So February's number, 34,000, tab, March, 22,000. And now I'm going to tab again after the 22,000. And it takes me to the plus sign underneath, and I'm going to tab one more time. So I'm now right underneath Johnson. The next last name is Miranda. And we have 32,000 for January, 42,000 February, and 50,000 March. Tab twice, and we're ready for our last entry here. The last name is Washington, and Washington's numbers are 44,000, 24,000, and 48,000. Now, I'm going to tab after the 48,000. I'm always just in the habit of tabbing out of a field. And then I'm going to go up to the top and I'm going to exit grid view. And you see after we tabbed several times before we exited grid view, it did put the $ and the 2 decimal places on all the numbers, right? So you created a list from blank. We renamed a field in the list. We added 3 more fields in the list, and then we populated the list. Well done. So we have our 2021 quarter 1 sales list, and we decide that we want a column that will total the numbers from January, February, and March for each associate. So this time we're going to click on Add Column again. We're going to do the drop down, but this time we're going to go almost to the bottom and we're going to click on More. So it takes you to a new screen. This is actually the classic view of creating a column right here, right? But it gives you more choices in terms of the type of information for the column. So we are going to name this column Total. And the type of information for the column is going to be calculated. Now, column type, right, is a calculation that's based on other columns. So we want January, February, and March added up. We don't need to put in a description for the column. We're going to just scroll down and you'll see that you get to a formula box. And I'd like you to click in that formula box. And you're going to type equal sum, just like in Excel. You're also going to type an open parenthesis. Now, the cool thing is we don't have to type in the names of the fields because we have this insert column, which has the fields right there, right? So we can use that, double click, save some time typing, and avoid typos. So we're going to click on Jan, double click Jan. Notice it puts it in square brackets. So if you were going to type it in, you have to type the column name in square brackets. In the formula box after Jan, you're going to type a comma. Then insert column, you're going to double click Feb. Click in the formula box, type a comma after Feb. In the insert column box, double click March. Click in the formula box after March and you're going to do a closing parenthesis. So it should say equal sum, open paren, square bracket Jan, square bracket, comma, square bracket Feb, square bracket, comma, square bracket March, square bracket, closing paren. You might have the little underlines on the comma. That might be a grammar check on, it's a grammar check on my system. It's telling me that there's usually a space after a comma. But in this formula, it doesn't have to be a space. It's fine. So the data type returned from this formula, if you scroll down, we want it to be currency. For the number of decimal places, we'll set it to 2. And we'll leave it on the United States currency format. You're going to continue to scroll down until you see your OK and cancel buttons on the bottom right side. and you're going to click on OK. So now you'll see your calculated column and it's populated, right? It's doing the sum of January through March for each record in this list. Well done if you have your calculation. So the last thing we're going to do with this particular list is just get you familiar with some list settings. So when we were in the document library, we went up to the gear. You're going to go to the gear here, your settings gear, and you'll notice it says list settings because we're in a list, whereas when we were in the document library, it said library settings. Go ahead and click on list settings. You'll see it has a lot of the same settings as we did with the library, the document library that we were in, including the ability to delete this list if you needed to. So just wanted to expose you to this screen. Again, I would suggest that you go through all of the settings at your leisure just to get comfortable and familiar with them. I've navigated back to site contents. And I can see now both my management document library and my 2021 Q1 sales list in the contents area. But now we're ready to create a list based off of an Excel file. In order to use an Excel file as a basis for a list in SharePoint, the data in the Excel file has to be in an Excel table or you won't be able to bring it into SharePoint as a list. So we're going to go to our new button here in Site Contents, and we're going to choose List again. And this time at the top, we're going to click on the From Excel tile. Now here, you can select an Excel file that's on your computer or on this site already. We can upload a file or we can choose a file that's already in the default documents library on this site. And it just so happens we want to create a list based on that goals file that we put in the default documents library. So I'm going to just check the goals file, and notice when I check it, my next button lights up. Go ahead and click next. So it loaded the tables. There's only one table in this file, and I named the table goals, so it shows there. And this is the information that's in that file. We saw the information in this file earlier when we looked at it on Excel Online. So it shows you the column types, right? So we have a title column type, it's the year. And that's fine because we don't need the years to be numbered. The number data type is anything that you might want to calculate. And that's why we have number as yearly and monthly goal. So we're good with the data types here. If it comes in wrong, you can change the data type. If you do a drop down, you'll see the different data types. Or you can tell it not to import a particular set of information from Excel. So we're good with the default settings there. We're going to go ahead and click next. So now it's going to give the list a name that's the same as it's finding in the Excel file, the name of the Excel file. You could change the name of the list here if you want, but that's fine. We can leave it on goals. We don't need a description. We're going to show it in site navigation, so you can go ahead and create. So now that we have our list, we decide that title, it's always going to default. The first column in a list is going to be called title. And oftentimes you'll want to rename it. So we want to rename title to year. I'm going to do the title drop down, hover over column settings and rename. And we're going to just call it year. And in this list, we're going to add another column indicating whether the monthly goal was met or not. So we're going to go to add column rather. And this one, the answer type is going to be a yes, no. So to present as a checkbox, we're going to choose yes, no as our answer type. And we're going to call this monthly met. Monthly met. Don't need a description. We are going to default it from yes to no, though. And so the checkbox will be unchecked, and we'll just save. So now when we want to populate that new column, again, so this is the thing. If I wanted to populate it the hard way, right? Let's just do this. Click on the 2019 year link, and you see it opens up this whole thing, right? So I can edit all, copy link, I can enter the value here, right? I just checked and unchecked. I want to uncheck it now, right? But I would have to do them one at a time like that. That is not efficient. So what I'm going to do is go back to my edit in grid view. And that way I can just go into the monthly met column, and we're going to check all of them. They've all met their monthly goal. But it's a lot easier than having to click on each one, opening up that panel and doing it in there. And then you just have to remember to exit grid view. And now your changes are saved. Now we're going to create a list based on an existing list. Specifically, we're going to create a list based off of the 2021 Q1 sales list. And we're going to make it 2021 Q2 sales. So I'm going to go back to my site contents and back to my new button, and I am going to choose list. This time we're going to click on the from existing list tile. So if your list resides on another site that you want to base this list off of, you can navigate to the other site. Again, I have a privacy blocker on the left side of the screen just to keep some of my information personal. So I'm on the SharePoint video course. That's the site that I'm currently on. And so is the list that we want to use to base this new list off of. And that's the 2021 Q1 sales. So I'm going to just go ahead and click next. And notice that SharePoint won't let you have a duplicate name in lists. It's telling you that 2021 Q1 sales already exists. So we're just going to change the Q1 to Q2 there. We don't need to put in a description, show in site navigation, and go ahead and create. So it doesn't bring over any of the data from the list, just the structure. So we don't have to rename title to associate. We have our Jan, February, March in total, but we need to rename January to April, February to May, and March to June. So I'm going to do the January drop down, hover over column settings, and edit. Right here it doesn't have rename. We're going to do edit. And then you can get to the name, and we're just going to change that to APR for April and save. Do the same, rename February to May and March to June on your own. So now that we renamed the 3 months, we need to check the calculation that we used for that total calculated column. And we won't be able to do that from this view. We actually need to go into list settings to get there. So go up to your gear, and when you get to your gear again, you're going to access list settings. And when you get in there, scroll down till you get to the columns section. So it's showing you all of the columns, right, that you have. Some of them are just pre-built, like title comes with it, right? We changed the name of that. And we have modified, created, we have our April, May, June, and our total. And we need to make sure that the calculation is correct for the total column. So here the column names are links. You can click on total under columns, and it will take you into the edit column dialog box. Now notice the formula. Interesting. It already updated it, right? It put in equal sum. It's basing the columns in the order they are, so left to right. So April, May, June, it's already updated. If we had put a description in this calculated column, like let's say we had put in a description for Jan-Mar, for January through March, that description will not change, but it will automatically, in most cases, update the formula. Always check it and make sure it did what it needed to do. In this case, it did. It's now updated to April, May, and June. And we can scroll all the way to the bottom and just click OK. So I'm going to use my, what I call the breadcrumb, to get back into my list at the top. And just without you having to listen to my voice for a few minutes, you can go ahead and pause this video. What I want you to do is you can use the same 3 associate names, Johnson, Miranda, and Washington, in that order, and just make up dummy numbers for all of them for April, May, and June. That's going to be my first challenge to you. So go ahead and do that. So here's my populated list. You notice if you were editing in grid view, as you got over to the total field, it told you it was read only, and it calculated that after you left that particular line. Now I have another challenge for you. I'm going to have you create a new list based on an existing list, and it's going to be based on this 2021 Q2 sales. And you're just going to want to make it 2021 Q3 sales. And you're going to want to just rename the months. You don't have to populate the list, but go ahead and create a new list based off an existing list and make it 2021 Q3 sales. Your 2021 Q3 sales list should look similar to mine. I haven't populated it. I didn't make that a requirement of your little challenge here. So now we actually have the 3 lists, 2021 Q1, Q2, and Q3, that we created. We started with one from blank, one from Excel, which was the goals list, and then we had one that was based on an existing list. And the existing list can be on another SharePoint site that you have permissions to access to. So that concludes this part of this, and we're going to about team sites. Again, in the next module, we'll come back to our team site and we'll work on the home page, add more pages, get into other things with it. But for right now, this concludes this first part of the course. I'm back on the home page of our SharePoint video course site. And at this time in Module 1, we're going to switch our focus from team sites temporarily and move on to another site template. We're going to create a project site. So the scenario I'm using here is that we are a sales department and we're going to have an upcoming office remodel project happen. And so some of the people from our team will be working alongside the contractors and other experts for that remodel project. We don't know who is going to be assigned from our team yet, but we just got a list of all the tasks and some dates associated with them. And we want to create a project site so all project information is captured on that site and has nothing to do with our team site. So in order to do that, we're going to create a subsite of our SharePoint video course team site. And to do that, I'm going to just go to Site Contents on the left side of the screen. And I'm going to do my New drop-down and choose Subsite. We'll give the subsite a title of Office Remodel. Don't need a description. We need to complete the URL though, so in the box to the right, we're going to just put remodel, so it completes the URL. And then what you're going to do is underneath select a template, you're going to click on project site and then scroll down so we can cover the other settings on the screen. You can see underneath where you selected the project site template, it gives you a description on that template. We're going to inherit the permissions from the parent site, so we're not going to change anything under permissions. We've seen these settings before. We will display this site on the quick launch of the parent site. And in this case, the parent site is our SharePoint video course site. We're not going to display this on the top link bar of the parent, and we're not going to use the top link bar of the parent. So you can just scroll to the bottom and go ahead and click on Create. It's created our project site, taking us to its home page. And this, I'll tell you, has more of the classic experience from SharePoint. So this is not the modern that we saw on our team site. This is the classic experience. The project site template comes with a home page that includes a project summary section where you see a timeline for your project tasks. It has a get started with your site area. This whole block can be removed and you can access them later from different vehicles, but getting started with your site, if you wanted to share it, if you wanted to do timeline, calendar, stuff like that. You can add list libraries just like a team site. You can do your branding and styling of the site by using those tiles. If you look at the quick launch, the project site template comes with a notebook. It comes with a document library, a task list, and a calendar. And again, you can add other components to it as necessary. We're going to focus on the task list and the timeline here. Before we do that, let's go ahead and remove this. We'll get rid of these tiles. So where it says get started with your site, go ahead and click the remove this link. And when you do that, you will have to verify that you really want to remove it. So now that that's removed, we're thinking we're going to use this mostly for the task list and the timeline, and some documents may be uploaded like invoices and stuff during the course of this remodel project. So we're going to just go ahead and put in some generic tasks. Now, I have a listing of remodel tasks like remove furniture, knocking down walls, things of that nature, but we're going to just keep it generic. So we'll be doing task 1, task 2, etc. So where it says get organized, edit the task list, the word edit is a link. Go ahead and click on the word edit. And it takes you into the task list, which again is in the classic experience. It has the timeline at the top of it. So the timeline can be used as just a quick at a glance what's happening with the project. You'll be able to view from the timeline. So the list is already in edit mode, and I know that because it says stop editing this list. So it's in edit mode, and the first task name cell is selected. So I'm going to just type in task 1. I'm going to give it a due date of 3/1. And actually, I should be a little bit more specific. It'll do it for me, but I'm usually more specific. So 3/1/22 is what I'm going to put in. We're not assigning the task to anybody. We're not sure who on our team is going to be working with this task and alongside the professionals. I'm going to tab through till I get to the next task name column. And when I do that, or the second row rather, when I do that, it automatically added task 1 to our timeline. It only does that for the first task, and I'll show you how to add the others. So we're going to just close that box, and I'm going to continue tabbing through until I get to the second task name. That's going to be task 2, and I'm going to give that a due date of 3/7/22. You can use the mini calendar if you want to. Now notice while I'm still in that row for task 2, there's a pencil icon in the first box, the first column. Once I exit that row is when that entry will be saved to the list. So I'm going to just press my tab key, and when I get down to the next row, you'll notice that the pencil disappeared. Let's put in task 3, and that's going to have a due date of March 8th. And I'm going to make sure it's entered by getting down to the next row. So I'm going to have you enter tasks 4 and 5 on your own. They have due dates of March 10th and March 14th, respectively. So now we all have 5 tasks in our list. Now we want to get tasks 2 through 5 onto our timeline. That's the next step here. So what we're going to do is, to the right of task 2, you're going to click the horizontal ellipsis that it's the open menu box. So go ahead and click that. And when you display that open menu, you'll see at the bottom you have the ability to open the task itself, add to the timeline, or create a subtask. There's even more options there. You're going to simply click on Add to Timeline. Go ahead and add tasks 3, 4, and 5 to your timeline. So for our little scenario, our task list is pretty complete, but there's more exploration to be done here. First of all, let's say stop editing this list. So you can click on the stop in that line, and now it's no longer in edit mode. We can take a look at our timeline. We'll see all of our tasks on it again. It's like a quick at a glance what's going on with your project, right? It's showing the due dates of each task. And one thing I want to point out is if you look up at the top left of your screen, currently you have 2 ribbon tabs. Well, 3 if you want to count browse, but you have a task tab because you're in a task list, and you have a list tab that controls the actual list. So since this is no longer the modern experience, right? To navigate, like if we wanted to get to list settings, we would have to go to the list tab to display that to get over to list settings, right? We don't have the same abilities that we do in the modern view. We also have a task tab up there, so that has some stuff on it. You can also add to the timeline from the task tab if you have a task selected in your list. Now I'm going to re-click on task to make the ribbon collapse, and click anywhere on the timeline on your screen. And now you get a timeline tab up there. Once the timeline is active, the timeline tab will show up. On the timeline tab, go ahead and uncheck task dates, and notice the dates will disappear underneath each task. You can recheck it. If you wanted to show start and finish on your timeline, go ahead and check start and finish in that same show hide group, and it gives you the start date and the finish date. So you can kind of customize your timeline as well as the font and all of that. And, I would suggest that you spend some time playing around in it if you are going to be creating project sites. Let's take a look at different ways that you can view your task. By default, when you're in your task list, it's showing you all tasks. So right under that new task or edit this list area, you'll see the different views. So we're currently seeing all tasks. If we want to see what our tasks look like in a calendar view, we can go to the calendar view. Now, let me just explain this. The calendar that's in your quick launch is the site calendar. It's not attached to your task list at all. This is a view of your task list when you get it over here from underneath new task. So I'm going to go ahead and click on calendar to see my tasks in that view. Right, so I'm seeing March 1st there. If I scroll across, I'll see other weeks, so the other tasks you're seeing, and they're all listed as all day tasks, which is fine. We know they're not going to be all day, but for our purposes, it's okay. So that is calendar view. Now, if I want to get back to another view from here, right, I'm going to just go back on the quick launch to my task list. And then we haven't marked any tasks completed, but there is a completed view there. If you click it right now, there are no completed tasks. To the right of completed, there is an ellipsis where you can get to more views. So you can see, I'm skipping Gantt chart on purpose, but we're going to go to that in a moment. But you can see tasks where the due date has passed. You can see tasks that are just assigned to you. That would be my task. You can also see upcoming tasks, I think in the next 7 days that they would start. But let's go to Gantt chart view. I don't know if you're used to working in Microsoft Project or with Gantt charts in general. You can get them in a lot of different applications nowadays, but it's a graphical representation of your task. So when you go to Gantt chart view, on the left side of the screen here, you have a table, and on the right side, you have the Gantt chart. And the Gantt chart for right now, we didn't put in the start date for any tasks, so they all have due dates. So that little bracket represents like a 1-day task is what that is representing on the Gantt chart. We're going to make some changes in this view. So what I'm going to have you do is put your mouse in the divider between the table on the left and the Gantt chart on the right. Click and hold and just drag across until you can see the predecessors column in the table. We're not going to assign anything, so we don't need to see assigned to. So you'll see here in this view, you can put in a start date, you can also put in the percent complete, and you can put in the predecessor task. So a predecessor task is a task that has to be completed before the next task starts. So in our example, task 1 has to complete before task 2 can start. That means task 1 is task 2's predecessor kind of thing. So we're going to set up our predecessors first. But before we do that, for task 1, let's give it a start date of 2/24/22. I'm doing it like 4 business days, so I'm excluding Saturdays and Sundays before the due date. So 2/24/22 is going to be the start date of that task. And then I'm going to tab over to the predecessor column. For task 1, there is no predecessor. While we're in the predecessor column, I'm going to just do my down arrow, and I'm going to get and as soon as I exit that row, you'll notice a couple of things. First of all, the bar for task 1 has elongated because now it's a 4-day task, and it shows up with a date range, and it's inside the timeline instead of as a call out on the timeline like your other tasks. So now for task 2, we're going to make its predecessor from the drop down. We're going to check task 1, click away from it, go to the next predecessor for task 3, give that task 2. Task 4's predecessor is task 3, and task 5's predecessor is task 4. So we have our predecessors filled in. You'll notice on your Gantt chart, it's showing you once task 1 finishes on 3/1, right? The next task, there's a huge gap there, is not going to begin until March 7th. So the scenario here is whatever contractor is working on task 1, they're only available those dates. The rest of the people are available later on in the process. So we're going to have that gap between task 1 and task 2. So now we're going to put in the start dates for the rest of the tasks. For task 2, the start date, it's a 1-day task, so it's going to start and finish on the same date, which is March 7th. Task 3 is going to start on March 8th. Task 4, we're going to give it a start date of March 9th. And last but not least, task 5, we're giving it a start date of March 10th. So now the bars are different. Our 1-day tasks that start and end on the same date, they're represented as diamonds on the Gantt chart. And the other bars represent the duration of the task, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, whatever it may be. So Gantt chart view, if you want to get a little bit more detail in, you can do it from that view as well, if you're comfortable working in that view. That's really cool. Notice on the timeline, the one-day task stayed outside of the timeline, like as call out. These other tasks that are multiple days are embedded in the timeline. So I dragged my divider bar back, so I'm just seeing the start date and the due date. And I can scroll to the bottom and scroll to the left on that table, so I actually see the task name. Now I got to readjust my bar. And you can even adjust the column widths here. I don't need that much for task name. So now I can see the task name, the start date, the due date, and I'm seeing more of the Gantt chart bars here. So right at the top, I can go back to all task view right from here, and we're back in our original list. Now we want to go to the project site calendar to enter a recurring meeting for just the internal people who are going to be working on this project. They want to meet once a week from the project start date just to be able to discuss where they are and have time to get together and make sure everything's going okay. So in our quick launch on the left, we're going to go to the site calendar for that. And in the site calendar, so our project starts on February 24th, or whatever date you have. I'm going to hover over February 24th, and I'm going to do the add link. And we'll just give it a title of remodel meeting. The location, we'll just put in conference room A. And we're going to have this meeting starting at 8 a.m. until 9 a.m., right? If you want to categorize the meetings in here, you can do so. It's not necessary. We're not going to make it an all-day event, but we are going to make it a repeating event. So we're going to check the box after recurrence, and it gives us the ability to make it recur. So we're going to do a recurrence pattern of weekly, every 1 week on Thursday, right? So every week on Thursday. So the start date of the project is a Thursday. We'll have a meeting that day, the following Thursday. And we said that our project is going to end sometime around March 14th, I believe. So we'll say, we'll just end after 3 occurrences. Or we could end by a date. Actually, let's do that. Let's do end by and then click the little mini calendar. Go to March. We'll end it by the 17th. So we'll have a total of 3 meetings. It's going to end up being the same thing. And we will save that. So anybody that's on the team that has access to this and permissions to do so, they can come in and change the time or move the meetings around. But we have the meetings that are showing there. It's actually 5 occurrences or 4 occurrences. Let's see. 1, 2, that's the same one. Yeah, it ends up being 4 occurrences. So once the project wraps up, we can have that final meeting on the 17th. So that way we have it on this calendar, which is separate from the calendar view of our task list. And let's go back to our site's home page, the project site home page. And I know what we did when I had us remove this, we didn't save. But anyway, we can see now our project summary. We have our timeline highlighted the way it is. Any tasks with 1 day duration have to be outside of the timeline, displayed as a call out. As soon as you make it a multi-day task, it will be displayed in the timeline. For the ones that are in the timeline, you can make it display as a call out if you choose so from the timeline ribbon tab. It lets us know now that task 1 is due in 23 days as of this recording. We didn't add any documents. You can start a conversation down here in the news feed, right? So anyone that has access to this site, let's go down to the news feed. You can actually put a picture in there. You see that little camera thing. And we're going to just type in there, we really need to figure out which internal members are working on this and assign them to tasks next week, something like that. And then just post it. So you can see who posted it and people can reply to it, like it, so on and so forth. So you have that built in as well at the bottom of the home page. The next thing we're going to do in this module is create another subsite. This time we're going to create a community site. So you want to get back to your SharePoint video homepage, and you can do that. I'm not going to expose mine here. I have it hidden. But you can go up to your URL and get rid of everything after SharePoint video page that we created and to get back to that home page. So navigate to that home page. Actually, we named the URL SharePoint course. So you want to delete everything after that and press enter, and it'll take you back to this SharePoint video course homepage. So we need to create another type of site now, a community site. And we're going to say for our sales group, the community site is going to be based on travel. So hotel recommendations, any cool restaurants that you find in that area, so on and so forth, that type of thing. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to our site contents and do new subsite. And we'll name this site Sales Travel. We'll give it a description, and it's going to be travel information for members of our team. And the end of the URL, we'll just call it travel. This time, we're going to select community site under our collaboration tab, templates. When you scroll down, you'll see the description of the template. It's going to be every time you create a subsite, the same choices on the bottom half of the screen. So we're not changing our permissions. We're going to say yes to display this on quick launch, no to the top link bar, and we're going to use the top link bar defaulted to no. And go ahead and click create. So you get dumped onto the home page of your site. And here you'll see, of course, we used a different template. So the home page for a community site has a new discussion area. It has community tools, which will stay on the screen for you, on the home screen for you. What's happening right now, the site has one member, and that member is you. You might be listed as the top contributor as well, because there's nobody else on this site. So in your quick launch, you have categories, members, about, and then of course, site contents. Let's go to categories over there. And you'll see that it comes out of the box with one category that's called general. We're going to create 4 different categories in just a few moments. And then you have members on your quick launch. And again, you're the only member in here. Right now, it says that you have 0 discussions, 0 replies, 0 best replies, so on and so forth. You're looking at top contributors by default. You could go to new members. You'll also show up there because you are a new member of the group. It also has an alphabetical A to Z listing of members once you have more than yourself in there. That could be useful. And if you want to look in reversed order from Z to A, when you do the horizontal ellipsis, it will give you that Z to A option when you're in this view. You'll also have an about link on your quick launch. Let's go there now. Now, this is the default language that comes up on about. You can actually edit it, and we're going to do that, right? So that first paragraph is just standard. I like to keep the common sense rules to start with because they are great rules to have for any kind of community site, right? So what we're going to do in order to do that, we need to put this page in edit mode. So in the upper right-hand corner of the page, you'll see the edit link, and that puts the page in edit mode. Go ahead and click that link. And just like the project site that we created, this is more of the classic experience in SharePoint. So the page is in edit mode, and what we're going to do, we can leave the welcome to our community if we want, about this community. We really want to just change the first paragraph that says when our moderators get a chance, they'll update this page. And we'll just say there that we are using this for travel tips for our sales team. We are interested in recommendations for hotels, dining, air travel, etc. Please participate if you have good information to share, something like that. So once we made that edit, we just need to go back to where the edit button was. Now it says save, and we're going to save the page. And now you can see the text that we just swapped out for about. Let's go in and create our categories. So when we use Quick Launch to go to categories, there's no way to create them there. If we go there again from the Quick Launch, we just pick a category. We only have general here, right? So this is where community tools are going to come in handy on the community site. Let's go ahead and click on Create Categories under Community Tools. And we're going to go to Edit This List. Instead of doing everything one by one, we get that grid view here, right, that we were used to working with. So I'm going to just go down to the box underneath General, and I'm going to type in Dining. And we're not going to put a description in. It's, any dining tips that you have that you want to share. You can, restaurant recommendations, so on and so forth. You can put them under this category. We can eventually add category pictures if we want, so on and so forth. Don't need to do that right now. I'm going to just tab, or actually you could do your down arrow to get down to the next row quicker than tabbing. And this next category is going to be lodging. And I'm going to down arrow. I have air. And lastly, vehicle. And remember, you want to get out of that row so it saves the entry. So now we have our categories in. While we're in here, let's go and click on stop and stop editing this list. So we see our categories listed in alphabetical order. And right now we're looking at it in admin view. You can go to category tiles view and you'll see the tiles for the categories. This is how it shows up in categories, right? And I'm going to go back to home, right? And get back into create categories. And so we're in admin view, we saw the category tiles. We have the horizontal ellipsis there where you can modify a view or create your own view from scratch. So that's how we work with the categories. Let's go back home. So we've created our categories. Now, because this is a community site, you can create badges and assign badges to members based on your criteria. It's kind of like a nice thing when you go in and you've been promoted to a different badge or you get a badge in a community. So let's use this community tools and go to create badges. So out of the box, you get 2 badges, expert and professional. And we're going to create another badge here. The badge we want to create is called member. So when someone joins this community, they'll automatically get a badge at the beginning. So we can actually assign them a badge at the beginning. So where it says new, I'm going to click on new. It opens up a panel and I'm going to just type in member. And there are no attachments or anything, and just save. So now we have our badges. Now that we've created our member badge, let's go ahead and use community tools to assign badges to members. Well, we're the only member at this point. So when you click on that, it takes you to community members, right? And you'll notice the ribbon, you have a list tab and a moderation tab. We're going to go to the moderation tab, and the only icon on there is give badges. So we have to select ourselves first, and then we can click on give badge to a member. So what we can do is we can do the drop down next to gifted badge, and we're going to give ourselves the member badge, and we are going to save. And you can see from this view that we're seeing the gifted badge over here. And speaking of views, when we're looking here, the members view looks like this. So it's divided into top contributors, new members, you know, your A to Z and Z to A sorting mechanisms. Top contributors is there as well. So we'll show up under both at this point. And we can use the quick launch to navigate back to our home page for our community site. So now what we want to look at is also in the community tools, we'll look at reputation settings. Go there. So this, you can give some time to think about how you want it to be set up if you're going to use a community site, right? So do you want the items to be able to be rated? And it defaults to yes. So when you enable ratings, do you want them to use likes or star ratings? Those are your two choices right there. It defaults to enabling a member achievement point system. So the members of your community will be collecting points based on their participation, and you can change the number of points at any point you want. So everybody will get 10 points for creating a new post or replying, or if their post gets liked, they'll get 10 points. The members reply, if somebody marks it as the best reply, that member who posted the reply will get 100 points. And then you have achievement level points. So as they accumulate their points from the point system, they can reach specific levels as milestones of achievement. And you can, change that to any way you want it to be. So level 1 is more than 0 points. Level 2 would be more than 100, so on and so forth. Then you have a section called achievement level representation. So you could display the achievement level as an image, a series of boxes, or as text. And it defaults to as an image. And we're going to go ahead and click OK at the bottom of that screen. And that's something if you're really going to run a community site that you may want to come back and make some edits on. The last thing to take a look at in community tools for right now is community settings. So let's go ahead and click on the community settings link. And this gives you the ability to set the established date of your community. So it's going to default to the date when the community was created. But if you had a community in some other form before the site was created, you could change it to that date. And then you can enable the reporting of offensive content if you want to. So it will allow the members of the community to report abusive content. The administrators and moderators can review the reported material and then either remove it or reinstate it. So those are other choices that you can access. Go ahead and click OK. Now we can create a new discussion right here from the home page, or we can go to categories and select the category first and then create a discussion. So I'm going to navigate in the quick launch to categories, and I'm going to choose the lodging category. And once I get in there, I'm going to click on new discussion. So the category is already assigned, as you can see down at the bottom of the screen. So the subject I'm going to use here is lodging in Santa Claus, Indiana, and such a place does exist. I've been there. In the body, I'm going to type that I am going to be traveling to Santa Claus in a few weeks, looking for decent lodging recommendations. I'm going to check the box in front of questions. So you'll see when you can filter whether it's an answered question or an unanswered question. I do want feedback from other members, so I'm flagging it that way. The category is already there, so I'm going to just go ahead and click Save. So now I have my discussion here, right, in the lodging category. Now, what I want to do is, let's say I'm a member. We haven't shared this site. We're the only member on this site right now. So I want to actually look at all the details of this when I'm looking at it. So I'm going to click on the name of the discussion, Lodging in Santa Claus, Indiana, and it opens it up. And then it gives me the ability to add a reply. So the thing is I can add a reply to my own post. And I'm going to just click in the reply box and type, I believe there is a Hilton property in that area, and then click reply. So I posted it. I replied to it. It's showing all replies, oldest, newest, most liked, right? If I want to, I can like my own reply or go to the horizontal open menu ellipsis button and mark it as the best reply. Remember, people who get their replies marked as best reply get more points that could lead to something in the community. So there you have the discussion, the reply, and the fact that the reply was marked as a best reply. If I go back to the home page, I can see the reply is there, the discussion and the reply. It has one reply and 0 likes, but it's marked as the best reply. So that's kind of how that whole process works. And so you want the community to be interactive with everyone. You want to let them know that they can get badges, they can get points, just to encourage participation. And, you want to make it so it's useful for people, so they'll want to go back to it, maybe look at it, before they go on their next trip or two. So the last thing that we have to do here is learn how to share the site so we get other members in it. So you're going to go ahead and in the upper right hand corner, near where the page edit button is, you'll see the share link, and you're going to go ahead and click on it. So in the upper left, it lets you know it's going to share, and the name of the site is Sales Travel. You have the ability to invite people to the site, which is what we're getting ready to do. And you also have the ability to come in here later and go to the shared with link to see who the site is shared with. So in this first box that it defaults to, you can enter people's names or their email address. Now, before that, it says they'll also get access, in my case, to the Trish training site. That was the original site, didn't do anything on it other than create our team sub-site and, the project site, and now the community site based off of that. So what's happening here is because we've inherited permissions from the parent site. Now, later on, I believe it may be around Module 4, you'll learn about permissions, and some of this will make more sense to you at that time. So for right now, they're going to get permission to your root site, as well as the other sites that inherited their permissions from it. But that can be changed, and you'll learn how to change that when we get to Module 4. So here I'm going to just type in a colleague's name so I can share this site. with my colleague. You can include a personal message. It's optional. If I want to drive interest in it, I'm going to put something like, hey, check out our new community site for all sales travel information, something like that. And then you have a show options link toward the bottom. You want to click on that. So it's going to send an email invitation to this person, and then you get to select a permission level. So just a little bit of background without going too deep into this rabbit hole right now. When you create a site, it gives you 3 different groups, if you will. It gives you a members group, if you do the drop down there. So it's looking at my parent site, Trish Training. It creates a members group automatically. It creates an owners group automatically, and it creates a visitors group automatically. So for me, the only person I would give full control to other than myself would be somebody that's going to be the moderator, somebody that's going to go in and monitor the discussions and so on and so forth. Otherwise, most of the people that I'm giving access to are going to be members. So they'll be able to edit, they'll be able to post and reply to posts and stuff like that. So I'm going to leave her permission level on edit. And then at the bottom, I'm going to just click the share link. So there you have it. And you could actually use groups instead of email addresses. If you have groups, you can share it with a group so you don't have to do the individuals like that. And that's kind of how community sites work in SharePoint at this time. So now what we're going to do is we're going to end up going back to our SharePoint course sites home page, and then we'll start the next section in this module. So we've been using the quick launch on the left side of the screen to navigate our site quite often. But one thing you can do is you can customize your quick launch. You can reorganize the way the items are showing there, so on and so forth. So what you're going to do is you're going to scroll to the very bottom of your quick launch and you'll see an edit link. Go ahead and give that a click. And then what you're going to do, you're going to ignore that pop-up. If you cancel it, it's going to take you out of edit mode here. So we're not talking about audience targeting in this course. We're going to just scroll down in the quick links again so you can see everything. And we decide that we want to have our home at the top where it is, and then we would like to have our subsites next. So what I'm going to do is if you see, if I hover over subsites, there's a little double pipe symbol in front of it. I'm going to click and hold, and I'm going to just drag that up. And sometimes you have to scroll up. I'm going to drop it right now under management. It won't scroll anymore. And then I'm going to scroll back up so I can see home and then grab it and drag it and drop it underneath home. So yeah, and it even has a guide bar for you when it's in position to be dropped. So we want our home. We want to be able to get back to our home page easily, which is the page that we're on. Then we'd like to get to our subsites as best we can. And we have our project site and our communication site there. The next thing that would be important to us would be our document libraries. So I'm going to move documents above notebook. And then I'm going to move management under documents. So those are our 2 document libraries. And then we're going to want to put our sales list in order. So after management, I'm going to drag 2021 Q1 sales underneath management. And then I'm going to grab the Q2 sales and drag it underneath Q1. And go ahead and get your Q3s up there as well. So for right now, and then we'll just go ahead and drag goals up. And that's another list we created, and we'll put that under our sales list. So we have modified this site navigation. And now at the bottom in that enable site navigation audience targeting box, you're going to go ahead and click save. So at any point and in the order that makes sense to you, I would definitely organize that a little bit better. And then you look at your quick launch and you say, you know, really, I'm not going to ever use the notebook that's in here. So I'm going to go to the bottom of it again and edit again. And then I'm going to find the notebook in my list. Let me scroll down to get to that. And the ellipsis to the right of the notebook, I'm going to select that and I'm going to remove. And then I'm going to save again. So, you know, depending on the site and the organization that you want, you can use that tactic to at least edit the quick launch so it makes a little bit better sense and it works more efficiently for you. So the last topic in Module 1 is a topic I want to revisit. I only mentioned it earlier in this course, and it bears a revisit. And that is the document library checkout feature. So let's navigate to our management document library on the quick launch. And we uploaded that employee salaries Excel file to that library. So let me explain what happens in a library if the library doesn't have checkout enabled. More than one person can be editing this document at the same time. And the version that's going to end up on SharePoint is the last person that edited the document's version. So you can imagine what kind of problems that can cause. So to get rid of those problems, you can enable checkout on a document library. And that means that if I, for example, check out this employee salaries document, other people that have access to this document library can still view it, the version that was last up here on SharePoint before I checked it out. No one else will be able to edit the document, however, other than me. I'm the one that checked it out. Once I'm done with my edits, I will check it back in, then someone else can check it out and make edits to it. But while I have it checked out, the only thing that other members that have permissions to this document library can do is view the last version that was up here before I check it out. Once I check it back in, then other people can get their editing on the document in progress. So it kind of avoids that conflict of whoever saves it last, that's the version that's on SharePoint. In order to enable the ability to check out documents on this library, we need to go to library settings. So I'm going to have you go up to your gear in the upper right-hand corner, and you're going to select library settings. Under general settings, you're going to click on the second thing in the list, versioning settings, and scroll all the way to the bottom. So the last item is required checkout. Specify whether users must check out documents before making changes in this document library. We're going to set that to yes, and you're going to go ahead and click OK. You can get back to your document library by using the management breadcrumb at the top of the screen. So now what we're going to do is we're going to hover over the employee salaries doc, and we're going to go to the Show Actions, the vertical ellipsis menu. And if you look, you don't see anything on here that says check out or check in or anything like that. Hover over More at the bottom and go ahead and click on Check Out. It lets you know that one item has been checked out. Now, another visual indicator. If you have access to this library and you come into it, this red arrow indicates that the document is checked out. If you hover over the arrow, it will let you know who checked it out. So in this case, it's telling me you checked out this item so others cannot edit, right? I can check in or discard the checkout. So when would you discard a checkout? Let's just say you checked it out totally by accident. You were clicking around, you selected checkout, it was an accident. You would just discard it as if it didn't happen. It's kind of like the undo of checking it out. Once you're done editing it, you can check it back in. So we're going to edit this document right now. We'll edit it in Excel Online. So I'm going to just click the name of the document and it will launch it in Excel Online. I'm going to just type a note in cell D1. It's just going to say, need real names filled in, something like that. And I'm going to click back on D1 and I'm going to give it a yellow fill color. And then I'm going to expand the width of the cell so it's all yellow like that. That's the only change I'm going to make to the document. So you know it's on Excel Online. My change has already been saved. So I'm going to work my way back to my SharePoint management document library. And now since I'm done with my edits, I'm ready to check the document back in so that someone else can check it out if they have edits, like maybe the person that's going to fill in the real employee names. At this point, no one else will be able to edit that document while I have it checked out. So I'm going to go back to my Show Actions ellipsis, hover over More, and now I have both check-in and discard checkout options. I'm going to go ahead and click on check-in. It is suggested that when you make a modification to a document that's already been published in the library, that you make comments, you type in some comments about what you changed in your version that you just edited. So I'm going to just say added prompt for real names to be added. And then I'm going to click on check in. So we no longer have that arrow that indicated it was checked out. Somebody else that has access to this library could come in and check it out and make modifications. Now, the comments are really cool because you can see, if you go back to your Show Actions menu here, and you click on version history, it will bring up the version. So this is when the document was initially uploaded, and then I modified it, and the comments show in version history. That's the only way you can get comments in version history upon check-in. So that's really kind of cool that you see what the differences are. You can swap out versions, like if you decide you want the original version to go back in, version 1, you can do the drop down there and choose restore. Or you can go in at some points and delete prior versions, or you can keep them. So I'm going to close the version history screen, and that concludes Module 1 of this course. Our second module is all about page content. So during this module, we're going to customize our site's homepage, and we're going to do a few other things as well. So there's a few ways to add content to the pages in the site. One method is using Wiki pages, and the other is using web parts. And you'll learn both of these thoroughly during this module. The lessons that we're going to cover in here are creating Wiki library pages, editing the team site homepage, creating web part pages, working with web parts, and adding web parts to pages. The files that we're going to use that are in the video description are an Excel file called Expense Report Template. We're going to use a PNG file called Personal Link. And the other file is a Word file called Website Links that I'd like you to have open on your computer just so we can access these websites quickly. So the other files, the Excel and the PNG, you want to put them in a folder on your desktop for easy access. Wiki page libraries are often used to display policy and procedure type stuff within an organization. Wiki means hurry, fast, or quick in Hawaiian. So it allows creation and organization of a multi-page library. And then web parts are containers that hold different types of content, from lists to libraries, calendars, stuff like that. Web parts are kind of like apps on your phone. Some, if not all, of the content on your site's homepage or other pages can be comprised of web parts. And we're going to be dealing with both of these categories of creating page content in this module. The first thing we're going to do on our team site is we're going to add a wiki page library for our expense report procedure. So in order to do that, we're going to go to site contents, like we've gone to add new content already. And this is going to highlight the difference between the modern experience, which we're in on this site, and the classic experience. In the modern experience, when you click new, you only have 5 options on the list. None of them are wiki page library. In the modern experience, you would have to click on app. So select app, and you'll see that there are no SharePoint store or custom apps allowed by your organization right now, right? So if you're looking for built-in apps, such as the wiki page library, you can actually switch to the classic experience to get to them. So right there where it says classic experience, you're going to go ahead and click. So in the classic experience, when you go to site contents new, you have the opportunity to add all of these things. If you look through the list, you have a bunch of stuff in there, right? We're looking specifically for wiki page library, and when you find it, you're going to go ahead and click on it. And we're going to name it Expense Report Procedure. Once you name it, go ahead and click Create. So it created your wiki page library. It took you back to site contents. And if you scroll through your site contents, you'll see your Expense Report Procedure page library. Go ahead and click Expense Report Procedure to access your wiki page library. Now, whenever you create a wiki page library, it comes by default with 2 pages that are populated. We are looking at the home page right now. It has all this, welcome to your wiki library. What is a wiki library? It also comes with a how to use this library page. And I typically just leave that page out there. So if anyone is able to, go in and create pages through permissions, they have a tutorial, so to speak, on the how to use this library page. We're going to go back to the home page on the left. So what we want to do is we want to edit this home page. We want to get rid of the default text, add our own text, and just a little bit, just a paragraph of text we're going to add. So in order to do that, we need to go to the edit link in the upper right-hand corner of the page to put it into edit mode. And once you do that, you'll see that you get the tabs on the ribbon and so on and so forth. What we're going to do is we're going to select the text that says, welcome to your wiki library, and we're just going to call it overview. So we're going to replace it with the word overview. Once we do that, we're going to delete the rest of the text on the page underneath overview. So I'm just going to select it and delete it. And then I'm going to press enter just to have a space under overview. We're going to type 1 paragraph, about 3 sentences, 1 paragraph. So it's going to be expense report should be submitted within 5 business days of event completion, period. And I really do know how to spell completion. The next sentence, they should be uploaded to the appropriate SharePoint library, comma, not as a template, comma, but as an Excel file. Period. An approval notification will be sent to the appropriate manager, comma. And pending errors, comma, your report will be approved and reimbursement will happen in the next pay cycle after approval, period. So that's all we want on our home page for now. I mean, this is a course, so you could add more stuff, more detail if you like. But what we're going to do is we're going to press enter twice, and this is where the fun begins. So the default wiki page library gives you a home page and a how to use this library page, but you create links that will create all other pages for you ultimately. So we're going to type 2 square opening square brackets, and as soon as you do that, it shows you the list of the pages in your wiki page library. We're going to type expense report template, and 2 closing square brackets. So as we were typing that, it said item doesn't exist. No, it doesn't exist. But now what we're going to do is save this page. So go in the upper right-hand corner and click on Save. You could also get to Save as the first item on the ribbon. Does the same thing. Once you save the page, Expense Report Template becomes a link. So that's the link you're going to use to create a new page. Go ahead and click on that Expense Report Template link. Once you activate the link, it gives you the opportunity to add the page. It tells you the page does not exist. Do you want to create it? It gives you the full URL to that page. And again, mine is blocked for privacy reasons. And you're going to go ahead and click Create. So we're on a blank page with a frame. We can click in that frame. We have a little bit more typing to do here. Okay. And what we're going to type here is, this is the only template you can use for expense reports. And I'm going to type a colon and enter. And so now I want to, so from your video description, you had that expense report template file, Excel template file. And we're going to go up to the Insert tab of the ribbon. And on the Insert tab of the ribbon, you have in the Links group, Upload File. So we're going to make that selection. So up at the top where it says Choose a File, you're going to click on Choose File. And it'll take you to your directory. And there's my expense report template, Excel template file. And I'm going to just double click it. It's going to put it in your Site Assets Destination Library, which can be used, it can be accessed from a bunch of different sites. That's what that is referring to. We don't need any version comments. You can simply go ahead and click OK. Now click at the end of the template link and press Enter. So we get another space underneath it. So we're going to type, just a little bit more typing, I promise. Please save this template to, and then a colon, and we're going to type your username /documents/custom office templates. So it needs to be saved there so it can be accessed from within Excel. And then on your computer. So we're telling them where to save this template to. Now there's other information about how to access the template. I'm not going to have you type all of that information in, but I do have one thing. Go ahead and press enter. We'll do just this little line of text to access template from within Excel, comma, choose file/new, and you will see a personal link as shown below. And I'm going to do a colon there and enter. So we're giving them a picture of what it's going to look like. We have a picture file that was in the video description called personal link. It's a PNG file. I'm still on the insert tab of the ribbon here, and this time I'm going to choose picture from computer. I'm going to click on choose file, and I'm going to grab that personal link file and choose OK. So when they go to file new, once you save a template in custom office templates and you go to file new, you'll have that personal link next to the office link, and you'll be able to see and access your template. At that point, it's actually an Excel file, and when you save it, it will be saved as a file. So I had a bunch more stuff that we could type in there, but what we're going to do is go to the end of the picture and click, and then press enter, and we'll type one more line, and it'll be saving convention example. So we want them to save the Excel file based off of the template. So I'm going to use my first name dash expense report template, or we could just have expense report dash, and then I'll put in 02-12-2022. So the date that, on the expense report, I'll put there. Now what you want to do at the bottom of this page is we want to create links to the other pages. So press enter one more time. Do your double square bracket, and off of the list, click on home. And now go up to the upper right and save this page. So now if you scroll to the bottom of the expense report template page, you can quickly get to the home page of this Wiki page library by clicking the home link. Let's click the home link, and the home page has a link to the expense report template page and vice versa. So typically in a Wiki page library, I put links to all of the pages on a page. So if we had 6 pages, I would have 5 links on the home page so you could easily navigate. You'll also have updated pages on this side above your quick launch. And I never put a link to how to use this library page on a Wiki page that I create. But you can see that you can add files, you can add pictures. I've seen this used for a lot of policy and procedures. As a matter of fact, I had a sheriff's department as a client, and they had all the videos and pictures and text about the proper way to enact an arrest on someone. So that was an interesting use of Wiki page library. Now, what you can do on the left-hand side is we can click on home to go back to the home page of our SharePoint video course site. You'll notice that the Wiki page library is not showing in our quick launch. So the reason why is we created it in the classic experience, and in the classic experience, apps did not automatically show in the quick launch. You used to have to go into the app settings, whether it was a list, library, pages, and tell it to show on the quick launch. So we're going to make our wiki page library show on the quick launch now? We have to go to site contents to locate it. And then once we locate it, we want to hover over the show actions. We're going to click on the vertical show actions ellipsis. And you only have three choices: delete the wiki page library, go to its settings, or look at details. We're going to click on settings to get into its settings. And once we're in its settings, under general settings, we're going to click on list name, description, and navigation. And this is where we're going to tell it, and sorry, I still have my little cover up things here from the previous screen. I'll move them out of the way. If we wanted to change the name or put in a description, we could. But what we want to do is we want to just say, yes, display this document library on the quick launch. And then we're going to go ahead and save. And even from its settings screen, we can see on the quick launch that it is now on the quick launch. So we can use the breadcrumb to get back to expense report procedure. And so now it's showing it to you in a different view, right, than we saw it before. It's showing you the separate pages. We can also access it from the quick launch, which will take you to its home page and so on and so forth. Let's navigate back to our home page, because now we're ready to edit our home page to make it more usable for what we need it for. And you're going to get introduced to web parts during this section. So the standard modern home page for a team site, again, comes with news, quick links, documents, and that's the default document library. And it has activity down here, right? The activity that's happened on the site. So that's the basic template for a modern team site template that we use to create this site. Now, we want to make some edits to this page. So the first thing we have to do is put the page in edit mode. Again, that's in the upper right-hand corner. And it lets you know it's preparing your page for editing. And so now you'll notice that there are little frames going around your page. If you hover between quick links, if you hover over quick links, that's in a frame. If you hover over documents, that's in a frame. Same with the news, activity stuff that's on the other side of the page. And also down at the bottom, you have a comment section down there, which is off. So these frames, it used to be called zones, right? It's just the layout of the page, the default layout of the page. You'll also notice in the upper left-hand corner, it has a plus sign where you can add a new section. So these zones are now known as sections. And if you wanted to add a new one, you could. We don't have a need to do that right this moment. We want to modify the sections that are already there, right? So what that means is we want to edit this quick links. Well, actually, let's get rid of the quick links area. We decide we don't want that there right now. So I'm going to click on the quick links frame, and this little sub menu pops up where you can edit it, you can move the web part, you can duplicate it, or you can delete it. We're going to go ahead and choose delete. So this one is a 2-column setup. We have column 1, which is wider than column 2. The plus sign at the top on the right says add a new web part to column 2. So we deleted one, we could add a new one if we wanted to there. So what we want to add there is a group calendar, a group calendar for our team. So the plus sign on the right side of the screen, add a new web part in column 2. We're going to click it. And it gives us a list of the web parts that we can use. So under frequently used, you'll see a group calendar, a link, a list, events, document library. You have text media and content stuff that you can add, right? And we'll get to some of this. We're going to be using some of these things on our home page. For right now, what we want to select is group calendar. So when you create a team site, right, it creates a group in Outlook for you. So there aren't any events scheduled. You would have to go to your SharePoint video group, and there's a link there, calendar in your Outlook, and then you can start adding events. And then we decide, we don't really need the group calendar on the home page of our team site, so we're going to delete it. And what we'd rather see there, so we're going to do the plus sign above column 2 again. What we'd rather see there is a list. So under frequently used, you'll see list, and when you hover over it, it says display a list from this site. So we want our goals list on the home page. So every team member can see what our goals are every time they come to the site. So we're going to select the goals list, and now that's occupying the upper half of column 2 on our page. Now you'll see up here it says your page has been saved. It's going to save automatically as we're going, but it's not published at this point, which means that it's out there, but any changes we're making at this point, we would have to use republish to get them out there for everyone else to see, the people that will have access to this site. So right now we have goals in the upper right-hand corner on our home page. So now what we're going to do, we have our document library here, the default one on this page, and we decide that we're going to leave that there. We're going to keep news, right? And we decide, I'm going to click on the activity frame here. Let me get over there. We decide on the left side of the screen, we don't want to keep the activity. We just don't need to see that on the home page of our site. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that activity web part, and we're going to add a new web part. We have some sales information from LinkedIn that may be of good use for us. So you have that website links Word document open on your computer. It was in the video description. And what I'd like you to do is click on the LinkedIn State of Sales Report 2021 link in that document to get to that website. So when you get to that page, what you're simply going to do at the top, and I had my stuff hidden, but I can get to it, is I want to click in the URL and I'm going to just copy it. So Control C is what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to go back to my SharePoint home page. And on the home page, underneath the news feed, we're going to click the plus sign where we had our activity. And we're going to add something else here. We actually want to add a link to that website, right? So we can easily show it on the home page. And so we're going to select link under frequently used. So it says paste a link to a page, video, or image on the internet, right? When we get in there. And I'm going to do Control V right there. So I pasted the URL, and you'll see it brings up the web page in that space. So we added our goals list instead of quick links. We added the state of sales, a LinkedIn state of sales report from 2021, since we are a sales team. We're going to leave news there. And on the left side of the screen, we are going to, let's see, we can do this on the left side of the screen. We're going to scroll down so we're underneath that LinkedIn, and we are going to add a new web part in column 1. So we want the plus sign that's right underneath the LinkedIn website. And this time, we want to add a video to our homepage. So in your website links document, there is a YouTube link to a training video, and I'd like you to access that link and get on that YouTube page. We're going to have to do more than copy the URL for that one. So let me get over to that page. And it takes you to the Learnit training page. And the first video on that page is what is learning with Learnit like? So you can't copy the YouTube URL here. What you need to do is just right click on that video that starts with what is learning with Learnit like. And you're going to copy embed code. Some videos on the internet, you can copy the URL and it's good. For this one, we need to copy embed code. So you're going to go ahead and select that and then make your way back to your home page. And on the home page, we're going to scroll down in the text, media, and content area. We're going to click on YouTube. So show a YouTube video on the page. And when we select YouTube, it says YouTube link or embed code. We're going to click in that box. It gives you examples in there. And we're going to do Control V to paste in the embed code that we just used. And you'll know it works when you see the beginning of the video pop up on your screen that is the right embed code, right? You can tell it to start the video at a certain time. You can hide the player control so it just plays, so on and so forth. We can close that panel on the right, the YouTube panel. And now what I'd like you to do, since it's already saved our page, right, we're going to go ahead and click on the Republish button. So at this point, we haven't shared the page with anyone, but if it had been shared and they've been viewing it, they wouldn't be seeing the changes until we republish it. So go ahead and republish your page. So now you can see our redesigned home page. We used different web parts. We left the news feed on there. We added the goals list. We kept the document, the basic document library. We added the LinkedIn sales report, and we added a training video from Learnit to our home page. Those are all called web parts that we did on this particular page. Now, the last thing we're going to do with our home page will end this module for us. So we're going to stay on the home page right now. So the last thing we're going to do is change the look of our site. And this is totally up to you what you want your site to look like. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. I'm going to go up to the gear to access the settings. They have a change the look here, but I never use that one. You can check it out if you'd like, but what I like to do is I like to go to Site Information and then View All Site Settings. And on the right side, under the Look and Feel category, I'm going to access Change the Look. So it kind of gives me more to work with if I do it this way. I mean, you can explore the other way just from the gear, change the look on your own. But this gives me a little bit better information to work with. So you have these tiles here, all different colorations. Notice some of the fonts are different, so on and so forth. And you can choose a tile and then modify it. So I'm going to go with the orange tile. You can choose the tile of your choice. I could put an image here if I wanted to have an image on my site, right? Even though I chose the orange tile, I'm looking at the left-hand side. I can change the coloration here. I'm going to leave it with the default colors for the orange one. You have two different site layouts, Seattle and Oslo. Weird, I know. But the only difference is Oslo doesn't have a quick launch, Seattle does. So I like the quick launch. I'm going to leave it on Seattle. And I can change my font if I'd like from what it has, what's showing on the screen. I'm going to go with the Blueprint MT Pro font just because That's what I feel like using right now, right? So this is how it looks right now. It's kind of like a demo. No changes have been made to your site at this point. What you can do, you have two choices here. You can start this process over, or you can try it out. So it will show you what your site looks like with this theme on it, if you will. So I'm going to go ahead and click on try it out. And it gives me a preview of my site. So I'm seeing my orange coloration on the links, on the buttons, things of that nature. If I like what I see, I can say, yes, keep it. And if I don't like it, I can say, no, not quite there. And it'll take you back and you can try a different look. I'm going to just go ahead and click on yes, keep it. So now, even in site settings, all of the text is different. It's that MT Corbel Pro that I selected, and it's in orange. So you can see that happening here. And I'm going to navigate back to my home page. And my home page has that coloration on it. I'm going to go to the documents library. So the entire site has taken on that kind of coloration. So that's kind of how that works. Again, I like to do it from site settings as opposed from just the drop-down list here from the gear. But that's just a personal preference. So that's the last thing that we're going to be doing in Module 2. I'm Trish Connor Cato. Thank you for viewing this course.